What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin. Hopefully you guys know us by now. If you don't, take a second, hit the subscribe button, because here we are talking all things Ravens. We also get into NFL news, but we are all about our Baltimore Ravens here. So like I said, take a second, hit the subscribe button, leave all your comments below. We love interacting with you guys, and then leave us a like, turn your notifications on so that way you're up to date all your Ravens news. But today we are here to talk about the Ravens' 31st pick, Glenn. Odafe Oweh, formerly known as Jayson Oweh. Jayson is his middle name, but he's going by Odafe now. Was at a Penn State edge defender, was taken 31st for the Ravens. There was a lot of mixed reaction. If you guys watch our live, I about lost my mind. I wasn't super happy about it. Obviously, like Glenn said in the live show, very uncharacteristic of the Ravens to take a guy who was not productive, at least in that year, in his last year in college, where he registered 0 sacks as an edge rusher. But we've had some time to decompress, to think about it. So we want to give our thoughts, want to grade it, and so on. So I just want to tell you where I'm at before I pass you the baton here, Glenn.
Sure.
So one of the things I thought about is I kept reading and I kept watching some tape and things, and I really had some time to think, and I thought, okay, what's a worst case scenario? In a worst case scenario, this kid is already an above average run defender. He's disruptive in the backfield. He knows how to set the edge. So if he does nothing but that for his entire career, which I doubt, but worst case scenario, and he's healthy, then I already think, to me, it's like a CC plus worst case scenario. Right. So that made me feel a little better when I took a second and I thought about it. And then I also thought about Eric DeCosta talking about quarterbacks getting the ball out faster. This guy is obviously a physical freak. And he's very explosive, and we hope that translates over to the field. But if he can polish up the weaknesses in his game and provide quick pressure off the edge, while it's not always getting a ton of numbers, we saw Matthew Judon, I think, was really high up there last year and the year before in pressures on the quarterback, not necessarily sacks. So I know that Wink looks at that number almost as importantly as sacks. And so if this kid is a disruptor in the backfield, whether it turns into a sack or not, those are just counting numbers. So those things they started to give me some refuge, if you will. Like, I started to feel good in those things. But So what is your thought overall, now that you've had some time to think about it, and tell us what you're thinking about Oweh?
Yeah, so with Odafe, I admittedly was not I didn't start out watching a ton of tape about it. I watched a few games with him early on because he was mocked to the Ravens. But when I saw he had no sacks, I kind of bailed on some of his tape, because it's just it's so opposite of what the Ravens typically do. They've taken edge guys very seldomly in the first round, but the guys they did take is like Terrell Suggs, who had the sack record in the NCAA before being broke by another guy that the Ravens took, Jalen Ferguson, last year, 2 years ago, out of college. And then he
feels like an eternity.
Yeah, but obviously that hasn't to this point turned out very well. But obviously Terrell Suggs, who's going to be, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Famer, turned out quite nicely. And then before him, Peter Boulware. So typically, if the Ravens are grabbing a guy, at the edge position in the first round, he's ultra productive player. So not only that, not just in the Ravens, but anyone in general. Oweh is the first defensive end / outside linebacker to get selected in the first round in the last 25 years after recording 0 sacks in his final collegiate season. So this isn't just a Ravens thing. This is a league-wide thing. But I want to get into why. So I went back and I watched more tape on him, Jimbo. I watched a lot more. And I got to say, I was excited about these things here. He's got tools, Jimbo, that you just can't teach. Okay. Right. I mean, this guy had a 4.37 40 time, Jimbo. That's, by the way, Rashad Bateman, the other first round pick, ran slower than him.
And he's this guy, 100 and, or no, I guess not 100, but he's 50, 60 pounds lighter or something like that.
I think more than that. He went, what was he,
70.
190, and this guy's 260. So yeah,
Yeah, 70 pounds.
70 pounds heavier and almost 5 inches taller.
That's my dog. That's a German Shepherd heavier.
So imagine Bateman running with your dog strapped to his back and running two 1/100ths of a second faster than he did it without anything.
Jeez.
So the fact that he was faster in his 40 than Rashad Bateman, who by the way is blazing fast at 4.39, just shows his athleticism. But it didn't stop there. It's not just, the straight line. The guy had the fastest 3-cone drill of any pass rusher, according to Next Gen Stats, and the longest broad jump. So he showed that explosiveness at the point of attack, which obviously is the reason why he's already a prominent run defender, because he's got that explosion in his lower half. He can take on tackles and he can lock them out and shed them. But let me get into some of the stuff I saw, that really intrigues me.
Tell us why. What has you feeling better today than on draft day, right?
Yeah, first of all, he's new to the game. He didn't start playing and taking football seriously until he was 17 years old, Jimbo. I mean, that's insane. He's played football for 5 seasons. This guy was a basketball player and was tired of fouling out. He's going in there, throwing his elbows around, picking up 5 fouls, and going and sitting on his bench and like, maybe this isn't the sport for me. Maybe I should spend more time focusing on football.
You think he was one of those kids that pulled down the rebound and immediately just started throwing elbows and
wrecking people? I mean, just absolutely wrecking people.
I hated those kids.
Yeah, exactly. But so you can't teach the stuff he brings from a physical and athletic standpoint. You just can't make a guy faster. You are what you are at this point when you're coming into the league as far as speed. So he's got that. I mean, incredible speed. And what's cool about that speed, what helps that speed is the fact that, like, when I watched on tape, a lot of guys are running to that option offense nowadays in the NFL. Well, and we talk about the with Lamar Jackson, that you have to commit and you have to almost guess right, because if you wait to see what's happening in front of you and then decide, it's too late. He's around. Well, this guy is so fast, Jimmy. He has the ability to wait, to stand there, wait, to see what you're going to do, stay squared up, and he's so fast and explosive that he can just, okay, that's what you're, boom, chase it down and tackle you for a loss in the backfield. I mean, just that explosive and fast. Mm-hmm. And what I was shocked to see is that he has bull rush strength. I mean, the only thing is he has to sometimes he seems indecisive on what move he wants to make after the snap. He has to come up with a plan a little bit earlier, in my opinion. Sometimes he'll almost look like he's in between wanting to do a speed rush or wanting to bull rush you, and ends up, doing neither, basically. So I think that, but again, that's coachable. I mean, that's stuff that they can coach with.
And some of that might be coaching. It doesn't have to be improvement of your game all the time. What it can be is it can simply be changing your mindset to where under certain coaches, you might feel like if you make this mistake, you're getting yanked. You got a short leash, this, that, and the other, where you talked about it. And everyone knows this. Wink wants his guys playing loose.
Yep.
Right. So let them play loose. Let them be themselves. Just that change in mindset, can be an instant improvement. Not saying that was the case at Penn State, but sometimes when you see guys being indecisive, it's because they know that they got a coach in the sideline that's in their ear. I know that that's happened to me when I've got a coach that I consider to be a micromanager. It makes me more stiff in my decision making.
Yeah.
Right. So certainly some of that could have been happening there as well.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Just the fact that he'll have, I think, just a better. I mean, look, NFL coaching, as good as I'm sure the coaching is at these high level college programs like Penn State, where he came from, it's not the same level as he's going to be getting in the NFL. And and honestly, what was exciting too is Wink talked about his position coach, Drew Wilkins, and said he's the best position coach in the league at that position. Now, of course, he's a little biased, but what was also exciting is Drew Wilkins, when he came back from the live workout with Oweh, said he was the greatest in-person workout he's ever seen. I mean,
that's awesome.
That right there is pretty darn encouraging. And he's got incredible length. He's got the explosiveness. He's got the bend. It's just like, from an athletic standpoint, he has everything you need to build into that phenomenal player. But more importantly, he's got the instincts, man. He's got the instincts already against the run to match with that crazy athleticism, that he is just a terror in the run game. I mean, he'll fake outside, boom, bolt inside and smack your hands away and smash the running back. I mean, this guy's got incredible read and react. And that's exciting. And his length, he really uses it well. He holds the tackle at bay. waits, reads, reacts, pulls the guy out of the way, boom, makes the tackle, and has the speed to chase it down from behind. I mean, there's a few guys around the league that you look at that can be on the right side of the D line, and the run can be designed to go to the left, and he's so fast, he slams down the line of scrimmage and tackles the guy from behind before he gets anywhere. And I think, Terrell Suggs did some of that and used his burst. Didn't have that top end speed that Oweh has, but obviously had incredible burst and could chase the guy down from behind. We didn't really have that for a few years now.
Yeah.
So the fact that we now have a defender on the outside that can run plays down from behind with that incredible speed and motor, man, I'm excited to see what he can do there.
It makes me think of, you were talking about, and both of us were surprised because of the lack of production, but it's almost like this. The Ravens learned something from the pick of Jalen Ferguson and said, okay, well, Terrell Suggs produced at such a high level in college because of things athletically that he will still possess when he's in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Right. So when the competition becomes closer, he'll still be able to rely on the resources that he's using in college to then get to the quarterback. Right. So where maybe with Jalen Ferguson, that disparity that existed between him and his competition, because he was at a small school, those reliances that he had went away, where Oweh might not have the production, but the athletic ability that he has is what will translate into the NFL, where you talked about, him getting improved coaching and things like that. So maybe they went the opposite way instead of just depending on production, we need to make sure that the things that he has from an athletic standpoint remain his advantages when he's in the NFL. So man, I'm getting excited about this kid. It wasn't my favorite pick of our entire draft. I know that we'll talk about that as it goes, but I am getting excited about this kid's potential. Now, this is another question I'll ask. What do you think, based on the fact that it sounds like he's relatively raw, he's new to the game, like you were mentioning, similar to like Tyree Phillips, and I've talked about this guy a lot, but like Ziggy Ansah, of course, was green in football, and made the transition. Do you think that he will be impactful this year? Being that he's going to be asked to start, I'm sure, he's a first round draft pick, this, that, and the other. So we're in win now mode. How do you see him positively, or how do you see him impacting us at all this year?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt he's going to be in there in passing situations because of that speed and athleticism. We know that Wink likes to draw up these exotic blitzes and just man cover you on the back end. Well, imagine this guy's speed running a stunt and screaming up the middle, terrorizing the quarterback. I mean, I think so. Immediately he's going to be in there in those guaranteed passing down. And I think he makes his presence felt pretty early on the rundowns. I know, I liked what I saw him. Now, he looks a little lean, but that's okay because that shows me that his frame, honestly, Jimbo, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's not pushing 265, 270 by the time the season comes out, because he's got the frame for it. He looks relatively lean at 6'5", 257.
Yeah, so, and as long as he might, as long as he can maintain his speed, that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, but a DN outside doesn't necessarily need 4.37 speed. So even if he loses a couple ticks there and increases his overall strength, I mean, he's still got to have plenty of speed to wreck the game and get to the quarterback. So I think that he puts on a little bit more weight. That'll give him more advantage in the run game and add to that explosiveness because he'll have the strength to back it up. So I think that he'll impact the team in a multitude of ways. I know Wink was smiling ear to ear, and I love the comparison because, and I fell into it too. I looked at the sacks and I was like, they're not going to take them. They're not going to do it. But when you do a deeper dive and you start thinking about guys, from history that didn't necessarily put up the gaudy sack numbers and look what they did when they got to the league. You talk about Lawrence Taylor. I mean, Wink brought up Lawrence Taylor. He had 2.5 sacks in his final year at college. How'd he turn out?
Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah, he was all right. Richard Seymour had 1.5 sacks his final year in college. How'd that guy turn out when he got to the league? Yeah. And then, of course, one of my favorites around the league that's not a Raven is Daniil Hunter. He came out of LSU. He had 1.5 sacks or 2 sacks, and he just turned in like 14 sack years for like 3 or 4 straight years. So, before having a banged up year last year. So just because he didn't have the numbers, the sack numbers in college doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to put up double-digit sacks when he gets to the pros. I'm confident that we have, the perfect coaching staff and defensive coordinator to put him in positions to succeed. I love the fact that we have vets like Pernell McPhee.
Yep.
They can teach him the
and
old
even
guard.
Tyus at this point.
Absolutely. At this point, he's one of the older heads in the room. He's got his second contract. He's going to have to take on more of a leadership role. But Pernell McPhee, the type of, teaching him how to play like a Raven, man, is exciting because Oweh already has that. I mean, he'll lay the wood if he gets to you. It's like Wink said, he comes with bad intentions when he gets there. So just exciting. I mean, I just imagine him, there's a lot of times where guys, we'll see like complaints about how Matt Judon was held in on the outside and that just, held just enough to where the running back was able to get the edge. Well, in this case, you better hold him. You're going to have to hold this guy enough to where the refs are going to call it, because if you let him go and the running back and him are even, I like my chances of Oweh beating him to the sideline.
There's not too many backs that are going to get around him, right? Unless they are elusive enough, but not with pure speed.
No, and even his stop and start, because they'll test his speed, and when they see that they can't beat him to the edge, they'll try and quick stop him and cut inside. He's got the stop-start ability. He'll put the brakes on quickly, and with his incredible length, he'll reach that arm out there, and once he gets a hold of you, you're not going nowhere as a running back. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see what Wink can turn this guy, and the fact that he's a workout warrior and a guy who loves to hone his craft. He talked about competing against Micah Parsons in every step of the way, and he said, look, we didn't just compete against each other, and we didn't just compete against our peers in our own position group. I wanted to beat the running backs. I wanted to beat the DBs in the 40 time. I wanted to beat everybody in the nation in every workout, in every drill, and every situation. And I love that competitiveness about him. He's not just looking to outshine the linebackers. He wants to outrun safeties. He wants to be the best player he can be, and he's going to outwork most guys. So, it just sounds like a Raven to me. While not from the statistics, but just his work ethic, the toughness he shows on the field. I think that he could develop into a guy that gets double-digit sacks here for a long time.
Well, it's funny. I'm excited as well, but I feel like I'm going to be the Debbie Downer on this episode, Glenn, because I feel I get concerned that how much of the show car stats that he has, athletically, if they will, absolutely translate to the field in the NFL and be, covet that first round pick overall, who we essentially, gave up Orlando Brown for. So he's got some added pressure here by the Ravens, knowing that we got that pick, but we gave up big Lil Zeus for that one. Certainly with something to, that's something that's always going to be attached to his legacy as a Raven as he comes in. And then of course, everyone's a star on the mitts, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, but for me, I'm giving it a C+, Glenn.
C+, okay.
A C. I was going to give it a C.
Oh, so it bumped up to a plus.
I gave it a C+. You bumped me up to a plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm giving it a C+. I hope I'm wrong. What is your grade?
Yeah, I give it a B+, and it's mainly, like you said, the only reason he's not an A is because of the lack of sacks. But look, he didn't play a full season. He only played, I think, 7 games last year. So you got to take that into account. And the fact that the way defenses were playing him, a lot of his, he didn't get sacks, but man, disrupting the quarterback, still forcing the quarterback into some earlier throws than he wanted to, forcing him to throw, as he's being contacted, which of course forced incompletions. So I think that the sack numbers will come, but like you mentioned, no matter what, I think he's going to be a guaranteed good run defender the moment he steps on the field, because I think he's going to get in that weight room. He's going to put on some weight, get some more strength. And honestly, he was already good. Yeah. But putting more weight on that big frame of his, I think will only make him better. So I give it a B+. And I hope that he proves a lot of the doubters wrong. And admittedly, we were one of them early on. I mean, we just didn't, and not doubters is whether he can turn into a player, but we were more doubters whether the Ravens would select a guy with the lack of collegiate success in the first round.
And I have to say that part of my calculation, to be honest, is all the guys that I really liked that were still left on the board when we took him.
Yeah, I mean, we fell in love with some guys because we studied a bunch of them, and when we saw Dickerson,
Kevin Jenkins is going to hurt for a while.
Yeah, there's guys in there, but look, I love his personality. I love the edge, the chip on his shoulder that he's coming into the league with. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. But let us know what you guys think. Were you disappointed? Were you kind of seeing through those numbers and looking at just him as the player, and you got excited? Were you hoping they went elsewhere? Are you worried that they didn't address the tackle position? Only took one offensive lineman in the draft in Ben Cleveland. But yeah, let us know your overall thoughts, and we'll talk soon.
See you.